Hi. Today we're going to talk about the topic, don't fall for the narcissistic question. And I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and emotional wellness coach. And I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And so the brain has a really beautiful process for this. And this process can also get stopped and blocked. And when that happens, we're going to see more symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. We're going to also see patterns of complex PTSD and more complex issues of anxiety and depression. And so, if we get that process unblocked and moving freely, these symptoms start resolving on their own. And this is actually um, how I help people de-narcissist themselves and untangle themselves from narcissists. And so that's how I came to this idea of don't fall for the narcissistic question. I work with a lot of people with complex PTSD and help them recover and heal. And oftentimes they are entangled with a narcissist. And so part of their healing and recovery is to rise out of that dynamic. And it is a whole dynamic. And when we can't see it, don't understand it, it's hard to get out of it. And so over the years, in having to also de-narcissist myself and also untangle myself from narcissistic individuals, I have just learned some principles of this trade is that can help get people out of this faster and faster. So I thought, let me make a video of this. Also, it seems to be a theme right now amongst many of my clients. And so that's really what I'm doing. And I want to put some theories and thoughts out here, a couple of principles. I believe that narcissism is native to the human brain, and that any places in our life where that brain process I talked about isn't working and is not processing, we're going to see narcissism show up in those spaces. Some of us have a couple of them, and we've got some workarounds, so it's not really crashing our life. We healing does not look like 100% perfection, and we've rocked everything. Healing is probably we're at 75 to 85% of awesome, and we just know how to manage some of the other stuff, and we just keep moving the needle, right? But with some of us are out here in the world with more areas under that are not processing, our brain is not processing, and we are stuck in narcissistic tendencies. The survival system part of the brain is very narcissistic. It only cares about keeping your body alive. So my brain only cares about me. It doesn't care about anybody else. That survival system part of my brain and the survival system part of your brain, the design is it only cares about keeping your body alive. And so it's serious about that. And so if we're stuck operating from that part of the brain, we're going to be more and more narcissistic as we're showing up in life. Okay. And so are the people around us. The more we have that healthy brain function, that process is moving, and we're the mind body connection is doing what mind body connections do. We're going to see more and more things like seeing things from multiple perspectives, grounding, inclusivity, holding multiple truths together at the same time. And all these are concepts I'm going to be weaving in for you today as we're talking about don't fall for the narcissistic question. And so the more regulated we are, the more processing we're doing, the more our brain is able to do higher brain functions that are more flexible, adaptive, inclusive, functional, and we can create win-wins. The narcissistic question is set up that if I'm the narcissist, let's say, and I'm asking you the question, it's set up so that I win and you lose. And this dynamic is happening unconsciously all the time. And it's if I'm the narcissist in this um, make believe scenario, every time I get this need met, it feels like I'm resolving an unmet childhood need. Okay, so I'm asking the question because I'm trying to get an unmet childhood need met. Okay, so let me tell you, I'm going to tell you what the question is. And I want you to know I made this up. I'm gonna tell you right now, I did not. I haven't read this out here in anything. I haven't heard anybody else talking about the narcissistic question. This is a product of my brain and how I see this stuff. And but when I tell you, tell me if I'm wrong, right? So prove it, see, try it out for yourself and see if I'm wrong. So the narcissistic question is, will you choose me over you? Right? If I'm the narcissist, I'm asking people this question. Will you choose me over you? Will you choose me over you? Will you choose me over you? Right? The people that are going to say no don't fit with narcissists, and they're not going to be engaging with the narcissist because no, I'm absolutely not. And these are asked in tiny, tiny, tiny ways. So you might not even know you're being asked the narcissistic question, but you are. If that person is highly narcissistic, this is the narcissistic question. And once you pass the first check, there will be the next check. And they will ask you, okay, but now in this scenario, will you choose me over you? Right? And if you say yes, they're going to take a step in, they're going to make a bigger ask, right? Will you choose me over you here? Yes, sure. And so on and on and on we go. And if you are somebody that, I'm going to go into these characteristics in a moment, but if the farther they get in, the more you match and are deactivated by the narcissistic question, and you're gonna fall for it, right? And at that point, it's a subconscious thing. It's not a conscious thing, so you're not really falling for it. But now that I tell you, and I'm gonna show you how to get out of this, I'm gonna say, don't fall for it. You can hear me say, don't fall for the narcissistic question. Don't fall for it. There it is, right? But let me tell you, let me back up here a moment and let's talk about the narcissistic question for a moment, and why it's still here, why it's here. Okay. It is here because there was a time frame in our life where this was an appropriate question, and the answer should have been yes, right? From 0 to 4, and some even later on, right? Maybe to 10, 15. Watch me here. When this baby is asking, will you put my needs above your own? Our answer is yes, right? Will you wake up and feed me in the middle of the night even though you're tired? Our answer is yes, right? Will you work some stuff to make sure that I have food and clothing? Our answer is yes, right? There's so many demands that these children are making on us, and our answer is yes. And in the beginning, it's completely yes every single time. As they get older, we progressively introduce no. I will not, in this way, I'm not going to choose you above myself. Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to put in my speaker because we've been having sound issues. And so by the time the child is a lot older, the answer is no. I'm not going to choose you over me. Right now, we're going to, how can we create a win-win? That's kind of what we're doing in adolescence and early adulthood. How can we create a win-win here? And we're training our children to create win-wins with us, right? And we're no longer going to choose me. I'm no longer choosing you over me, right? We're handing off. I'm going to go back to taking care of myself. And that's what adulthood is. I'm taking care of myself, right? If this work doesn't get done, if 0 to 7, the baby is asking, will you meet my need before your own? And the answer is no. We're not meeting the childhood need. And the answer is no frequently. And the answer is no enough. The child has not had enough time to have the question answered. So they're not gaining that stability. They're not gaining that. They're not meeting that developmental milestone of I'm important, I matter, people will choose me over themselves. Right? And so this unmet childhood need is still running into adulthood, and they're still trying to get it. Will you meet my need over your own? Will you meet my need over your own? And it's still happening now. And so it's deeply unconscious. This is primal. That means it's consistent. That means they don't have to be thinking about it to do it. It's a solid subconscious program. They would have to do the work of bringing it to the conscious level and resolving this, right? But that's not what we're here for. I do help with that work too. This is all, it's all the same. We do the same thing to resolve both issues. But today it's about that, right? Now, this is sad, right? This is very, very sad. These are adults that are in our community, it might be you, who have never reached this developmental milestone. And if you're involved with them, you can almost hear them crying. You can almost feel the sensation, the sound used to just drive me nuts in childhood. It wasn't until I was older that I realized my sensory style is to hear this stuff. As I'm hearing clients, I'm hearing my way around the world, and I could just hear this thing, and I would just immediately have to go in and fix it, right? And so I'm early on learning how to meet the need of others before my own, right? And so, right, we have the match. That's the match right there. Um, but it is sad. It's pitiful. It's sorrowful. We have grief about this. They have grief about this that they can't acknowledge, right? And we can hear that and want to do something about it. And sometimes we will dedicate our life to doing something about it, and it's not really the thing to do. Okay. And I'll talk about that in a moment here as well. So, this is a really sad situation, and these people can behave very badly, right? And like just like as toddlers, I can behave badly, and you're still going to choose my needs above your own, right? Okay, I can behave, I can break all the rules over here, and I can throw a fit, I can even come hit you, and you're going to still love me and choose your needs over my own, right? And so there's that's going on in the parental dynamic. And if the answer is yes, this is good in early childhood, right? But now we've got adults with adult strength hitting people, breaking rules, violations, and they want to see how far you will go with I will choose your needs above my own. And this is wild. And you will find yourself in some wild situations trying to prove to the narcissist that, or the highly narcissistic person, that I will choose my needs above your own. See, see, see. And guess what? They never see, because you are actually not the adult they were looking for. You are not the adult that matters. And as a matter of fact, their parents aren't either. Okay. And so there is an adult that they are looking for, and they're actually looking for themselves. So no matter how much you answer this question, will you choose me over your own needs? It's not going to matter. You are not doing the healing work. You are playing into the trap that is keeping them mentally ill and unwell. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, so this is big stuff, and this is happening at the unconscious level. So we're doing this dance, we're not talking about it. We're doing this dance and we don't know why it feels wrong, and it's awful. And then they say stuff to us, and you feel the trembling inside and the fear and terror, and you don't know why, because it's just a simple question, but you know why, right? This dynamic is big. And so really there is no benefit except for safety, right? Please don't, I'm not a domestic violence specialist. When domestic violence is in place, I am constantly bringing on support for that. That is not my gig. But I will tell you, all bets are off. Do not take any of my what to do advice if you're experiencing this and somebody is violent with you. That's a whole nother ball game. And the principles still apply, but you're going to need to apply them very differently. That's the specialty of domestic violence specialists. Get their help, right? That's what they're there for. They're skilled. They know. And they can walk you through this, okay? But if you're not in a violent situation and you're safe, then here we go, right? So don't fall for the narcissistic question. The answer is no, I will not. I will not meet your need over mine, right? And if you're involved and tangled up with a narcissist, you know that things are about to get crazy as soon as that no comes out your mouth. There will be a fit. You're going to watch a toddler. You're going to watch regression to toddlerhood take place. And a lot of our nervous systems by this time are so distressed and upset and overloaded that we can't sustain a fit. I can't do this with you. I just rather say yes, because it's just going to be easier. And let me tell you, that's not, if that's where you're at right now, please be there. Please don't act like you have strength for this and you're going to say no and it's going to be a whole thing. You could actually lose quite a bit of ground like that. Sometimes saying yes and going to the program while you're building your strength is the right thing to do. Okay, when you're in such a dysfunctional place, sometimes the frickin' high road is closed, right? And that's fine. So because we do need to get you in fighting shape, right? And not that we're going to fight. We're not fighting. I'm not teaching taekwondo or none of those things over here. I'm teaching you emotional intelligence and emotional wellness and emotional strategies and mental strategies to get yourself out of this. And not just that, rise above this problem and not be bothered by it at all. And which is absolutely how you win the game with narcissism. Whether you are de-narcissisting yourself or you're untangling from narcissists. And typically we need to do both because health and wellness. Anyway, it's another topic for another day. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my notes here. So this is how we've fallen into this. This is how we are matching. We're like the narcissist supply, right? We are supplying them with the attention. Once we start saying yes, we're supplying them with the material of the unmet childhood wound, the unmet childhood need. Okay. And so we're supplying that, whether it's attention, affirmation. Every narcissist will have their own, whatever they're looking for. Right. And you're giving it to them. So if you're in that place, these are why you may be here. Okay. One is that you've had an early childhood experience and practice of choosing other people above yourself. If you had a parent with mental illness, physical illness, addiction, domestic violence, if you had these situations going on in your home, you constantly had to choose to take care of your parents' need instead of your own, so that your family would be more stable. Okay. That was a constant choice. Right. And so we're conditioning our nervous system. We're wiring our nervous system to take care of others instead of our own. So in adulthood, when somebody asks us a narcissistic question, of course, the answer is yes. Right. We're practiced in it. We have the wiring for that. Also, like I said earlier, this is a tragedy. The unmet childhood needs that turn into narcissism is an absolute tragedy, and it's there's so much grief and sorrow in there for everybody. So when you start hearing their stories, you're just grieving and you're just feeling sorrowful. So you can be pitying them is going to get you stuck, and you're going to have to say yes, because pity does that. Pity is very separating. Pity will separate you from yourself. Pity will separate you from others. It also does separate you from the narcissist, but it's meeting their initial unmet childhood needs, so they really don't care. Because this need unmet is like you're gasping for air. You can't breathe. This is awful. That's why they are desperately seeking this support, because their nervous system thinks they're going to die without it. And I'm not going to argue with that, because I think their nervous system is probably correct, and they really need help to turn that off so that they can live a healthy life without feeling like they're drowning, without sucking the life out of somebody else. Okay. So, but also when we are in contact with how sorrowful and grieving and painful this is, we can also really feel enmeshed, and empathy enmeshed. Empathy is where I feel your emotions as if they're my own. This is not the highest form. Pity is the lowest form, then empathy. There's a couple of steps in between here, but pity, empathy, and we really want compassion. Compassion is all of that, but it's a higher level of quality, and it's boundary. The brain has taken that, has processed pity and empathy and all the feelings and turned it into a higher end product where we're not enmeshed. There are healthy boundaries, and we can see this thing from multiple perspectives. Right. And so, but if your brain is not making compassion, if it's only stopping at pity, or it's only stopping at empathy, then you're not getting compassion, and you're going to get stuck in this. And that's why you're fit with the narcissist. If you're in a position where you're not allowed to set any boundaries, you have a childhood where boundaries were knocked down repeatedly, boundaries, you weren't protected, you were not taught how to protect yourself, you were taught to never protect yourself. That happens especially with histories of sexual abuse, histories of domestic violence, where there are massive boundary violations that never get corrected. Will come, even if it's a generational pattern. It might not have been you who were abused, but if you were raised by a parent who was, that never got the justice they need, you're going to learn how to not protect yourself because your parent doesn't protect them. Your parent might protect you. This is complex, right? Their parent might protect you, but because your mirroring neurons are learning how to not are watching them, you're learning how to not protect you either. And there's tons of scenarios that knock down boundaries in childhood, and then when you're an adult, you don't have the ability to do this. This is part of complex PTSD recovery, is we need to get the boundaries turned back on. Boundaries are not choices you're making. Boundaries are a product of your brain. Your brain makes these for you based on all the information that's processing. And like I said, if that processor is not working, you're not getting boundary. You're not getting your boundaries updated. You're not getting your boundaries created. You're not getting your boundaries turned on. They're actually pretty knocked off. They're turned off. I don't know that you go, but I'm just imagining a little board. This is how I do it, because I'm going in here and trying to, where's the switch to turn the boundaries on? And with the client, that's what we're doing. And when we find it, we're doing the brain work in there to get that turned back on so that they can properly defend themselves and others. Okay, so, and this helps them rise out of the narcissistic place, dynamic. It helps them rise out of the narcissistic dynamic. If you are confused, the more confusion the narcissist can create in your experience, the more you will be stuck. Your brain actually is too confused to create strategies for you or see things accurately enough to help pull you out of this. This could be why you're stuck with your narcissist and you're stuck falling for the narcissistic question. Dysregulated. If you're upset or you're frozen, you're fleeing, you're fainting, you're fighting, all of these, fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, and collapse, all of these give them full access to your life. If you are doing any of these things in front of the question, will you meet my need above your own? If you're doing those, you're toast. Basically, the narcissist will be able to hijack you and use you for their needs. And guess what? They will feel more shame for this as well, though they can't access it because most of their emotions are blocked off. Sorry. So only you are going to feel sucked dry and depleted. So if there's lots of mental manipulation that you don't know how to name and you don't have a process for working through, this is going to get you stuck with the narcissism. For instance, lots of in here, there are lots of accusations, lots of dismissing, lots of derailing conversations, other types of manipulation. If those things are happening and you're not aware of them, that you can't name them, they're hitting you and you're going back to confusion. Oh, gaslighting is another one. Either you're going back to confusion and fight, flight, freeze, or faint or fawn, and so you're deactivated and they can hijack you. And make you do the question. Well, I'm so confused. Path of least resistance. And yes, I'll meet the need because at least it will be better for a while till the next time. And also another reason that holds us in this pattern is that we actually think that this is how needs are met. And this happens during formative years. This is one of the challenges of complex PTSD that we need to heal, is that in early childhood, we learned through experiences or watching our parents that we meet needs by meeting the needs of the other person. Right? There's an indirect way of meeting needs. I'm going to do this for you, and then you're going to do this for me. This is a codependent pattern, and so and it's not an assertive interdependent pattern. And so we need to we need to resolve that subconscious programming and update your programming to be assertive and interdependent and meet the needs directly. And so because especially with narcissists, you can meet their needs 3,000 times a day, it's not coming back to you. That's not the setup, that's not the design. That's there. We are all pursuing our unmet childhood needs. That's why it's so great to be able to grab our own, find them, identify them, and resolve and meet our own unmet childhood needs, because that also liberates us from this dynamic and also helps de-narcissist ourselves. So I have a video on that, finding and meeting your unmet childhood needs. I encourage you to watch that. It's really vital to this. So yeah. Okay. So let me talk about now three things, three things you can do to get yourself out of this. And these are not one-off things. These are not, you're going to do it one time and you're going to get this. No, these are, you need to go into the gym and build muscles. That means you need to be in there 3 times a week doing 3 sets of 10 repetitions. right? We need to build this. And if you want to build this faster, because your brain is different than your muscles, your brain can do this all day. That's why I have people do work on themselves up to 2 hours a day, no more. But because we need to repattern and rewire the brain. We need to create quite a bit of healing snowballs so that the brain needs to create a new integrity here that you can stand on and jump off, and that you're not falling. You're not falling for the narcissistic stuff. So hear me when I say this is a lot of what my program Inner World Transformation is about. People say, well, what's your program where you de-narcissist yourself? I don't have a specific program. This is my program for it. This is to the program's really designed to whatever goal you're pointing at. You do the brain work for it. So when people are working on resolving complex PTSD, we're doing the program exactly as it's designed. But one of the issues that they will be dealing with in there is the narcissist involvement. And so they're going to be doing the brain work specifically for that. And so you're getting your brain to heal, shift, and rewire. And then create new ways of being. And you're going to have new ways of being with your narcissist. And this is why, is because these are the 3 things you need, and you need to do them a lot. Okay. And I have in my program, I have several different exercises for this, because we can get bored even though our brain isn't bored. Right. And so it's a good way to keep people moving and doing enough of the work so to give the brain the opportunity to make the new way of being with the self and also the narcissist. So, okay, the very first important thing is regulating your nervous system, right? This is not an idea. This is actually an activity. And you can measure this activity using electrodes, neurofeedback. This is a scientific thing. This is not I'm going to just go regulate my nervous system. No, did you? If we hooked you up to the machine, would it note that your nervous system's regulated? Right? And so we're looking for the things that actually do that for you. And then we're going to do them a lot, because we actually need to repattern your nervous system to regulate. Also, part of what happens with nervous system regulation is that we're pushing the brain into processing mode. Right? We're calming and we're regulating, but also the brain is learning how to be in new spaces in a regulated state. So we're actually kind of recanvassing your territory to make it your brain and your mind body system can maintain regulation in it. And we want to make that bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's why we're doing so many repetitions. We're showing your brain what we want it to do, and we're leading it to do it, and we're guiding it to do it, and we're supporting it to do it, because brains need specific support to do that. Okay, and we need to regulate your nervous system in as many places as possible. We're going to practice this in the back, and then when you go live with your narcissist, you're going to see if your brain can do regulation. If not, great, we're going to get some feedback. We're going to get back to the shed in the back and by ourselves, and we're going to do some more exercise, and we're going to try again. Right? Can I say, ooh, got dysregulated? Going back, we're practicing again until we can stand in the face of the narcissist and regulated. This freaks them out. So, like I said, safety is important here. Also, there needs to be a lot of reconnection with the self, because a lot of the trauma that keeps us with narcissism is, yes, I will disconnect from myself for you. Yes, I will. No brainer. Yes, I got it. I'll disconnect from myself from you. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people's setup is that because of childhood practice, they're already connected to other people more than themselves. So we need to rewire to the self. And there's lots of strategies for this. This is one of the foundational pieces of my program. I don't lay that out like that, but if you are in my program right now, or you are about to, you're going to see that I'm making you connect with yourself a lot in a bunch of different ways that I find to be easily tolerated, and that we can get multiple reps. So your brain learns, oh, let me check in with me first and see what I think. Right? We want that to be automatic. We're overcoming childhood patterning and wiring. We're rewiring to automatic. Let me check with me. Okay. And that's really when you can reconnect with you, that's how your brain makes your boundaries for you. That's how the brain, we turn in that process is how we turn the boundaries back on. And the third thing, that's turn the boundaries back on. And so in these steps, the boundaries turn on, and your brain starts upgrading them, and it's like, that one was good, but this happened and this happened. We don't want that, and we want more of this. And so then they get back in there and they rework it, and we're guiding that because we're processing. We're guiding your processor. Okay. So those three things will do this for you. There's some other things after that that just are skill building and things like that. But if you don't have these three things, it's not likely that you're going to do this. It's not likely that you're going to rise out of the dynamics of narcissism. And so I really am just going to highlight those three here. What I want to do is I want to invite you to try out the three ways I use for helping people do this brain work. They're different interventions. We're focusing on a different part of the brain, so they're a little weird because they're mind-body interventions, but they work with 96% of my clients. I'm making that number up off the top of my head, but I've only had one that I needed to pull an intervention from the back and use it. And so these three, one of the first two specifically, are mostly a great fit for everybody, and that's why I'm leading with those ones. There are other interventions, but they take 30 seconds to 2 minutes to use, and you can trial them, and you can see if you feel and see and notice the result of nervous system regulation. I talk about that, how to evaluate this without machinery, and so you can figure out what's a match for you. I've left the link to enroll in that free program in my bio, in the description of this video as well, and it's on my website. You can sign up there as well. So try it out. Let me teach you these interventions. Work with your brain in this new way that I'm talking about, and see what you think. If and when you get to the point where you're like, wow, this intervention really works, you may be interested in following my step-by-step process for resolving these issues and really no longer falling for the narcissistic question, rising out of this dynamic entirely. And that program is called Inner World Transformation. I've left links in the program there, in my bio, and also in the description of this video. So the links are available. If you have questions about this, please let me know. I would love to hear all about them. I am watching, and I'm trying to get to as many questions as possible. I'm pretty good at answering back. Pretty good. Different platforms, different results. But in the meanwhile, wonderful talking. I hope this gave you some food for thought. And yeah, don't fall for that narcissistic question, or get to the position where you're no longer falling for it. Okay, and if you are falling for it, it might suggest this work that I'm talking about is really the thing you need to do next. Okay, take care.